Very soon, as a data analyst who understands how to use Excel, SQL, Python, Power BI, or Tableau, you'll be in a mess of AI taking over your job. And that is the reality in 2026. But you can change that, you can reverse that, and actually work with AI in 2026 only if you can listen to this exact thing I'm going to tell you. In recent times, there is news everywhere that the AI is coming for the jobs of every data analyst. And people has been wondering, what am I supposed to do with my Excel, SQL, Python, Power BI, or Tableau as AI is coming to take over my job? But if you're going to do this same thing I'm going to tell you in this video, you will actually not be in this same mess of AI taking over your job, because the truth is that artificial intelligence is here and it is here to stay. So if you're strategic enough to do this thing I'm going to tell you in this video, you will not be in that same mess of competing with AI. And we understand how AI works. AI is automatic, and if you look at it in the real sense, we can put it that you yourself, your manual. So let's dive right into what you need to do. There is one secret, like there is one thing that AI cannot do, but a data analyst who can adapt and start doing this thing will actually be ahead of the game, that the AI cannot take over your job. And I will explain what this thing is and how to milk it. As a data analyst, you know how to use Excel, you know how to use SQL to query the database, you know how to use Python, Tableau, or Power BI to build dashboards. But behind every data analysis, behind every beautiful dashboard you build out there is a business problem that you're solving. And that is where the balance comes. AI, artificial intelligence, can actually do all these other things, analyzing data. But artificial intelligence cannot actually make business decisions. Artificial intelligence cannot really solve business problems, because behind all these Excel, SQL, Python, and the rest of them, there is a problem that that company that hired you is facing, and they need to solve that problem. And that is where human initiative comes in. Before you start any analysis, there must be a business problem you will define. You need to be able to define the problem that this organization is facing and how to solve it. If you're not able to make these definitions, whatever analysis or whatever beautiful dashboard you build cannot really solve that problem, because it might be fancy out there, you've done the analysis, but what are you analyzing exactly when you're not solving the problem of the business? So that is where you need to enhance your skill. And how are you going to do this exactly? If you're a data analyst who understands the use of Excel, SQL, Python, and all other tools, you need to have a step back and ask yourself, what problem am I about to solve? Am I able to detect how to solve the problem of this business or this organization? Because the truth is that your stakeholders or your CEO will not come and start telling you this is how you analyze this data. What your CEO will do is this. They will call you and tell you their problem. Maybe they can be like, I don't know why, but our revenue has dropped. It is not left for you as a data analyst to define the business problems. That is where you'll be able to run the analysis and know what you need. Because the truth is that if you're being faced with a big organization that has millions and billions of data in their databases, you're not going to start querying the database to extract all the information. You being able to define your business problem is what can give you room to know the kind of data you extract from the database. That is why I always tell people, the number one step is knowing how to define your business problem, because you know how to query the database, but you don't know the particular problem you want to solve. You cannot extract millions and billions of data from that database if you don't know the problem you're about to solve, if you don't define it clearly. And how will you define this? Let's take, for example, that your CEO say revenues are dropping. You have to look at number of things. First of all, that is where you have to bring in your curiosity mindset. That is why they always say every data analyst have to have this mindset of problem solving, because you're a problem solver. They call you to solve problem with data. So you don't expect the CEO to actually define the business problem for you. They've already told you the problem. They say it as a whole. But when you define this business problem, you'll be able to define it in steps and in stages. That is what can help you to know the kind of data you need, and for you to be able to now analyze data. And that is when you can arrive at a particular insight of what will be the cause of that particular revenue that is dropping. Sometimes people say revenues are dropping and people feel like we are not selling. Sometimes it can be seasons, and when it comes to seasons, I analyze the healthcare data. It's for a diagnostic center. And there is something I found out. They used to have a spike. In fact, they have different tests, radiography tests, laboratory tests, and a whole lot of them. But when it comes to laboratory tests, especially malaria, there are months they will have a spike, and there are months they will not have a spike. It will drop. The CEO was like, this is what I'm facing. I don't know if my staff are doing one and every other thing. It was in the course of analysis because I was able to define the business problem. I defined it to even find out, are we having customer churn? Customer coming in and not coming back? Because when you have returning customers, that is when you can get referrals. And referrals is something that can help your business to grow. Because you might not be in every room to mention your name, but when people are satisfied with you, that they can mention your names in rooms that you cannot be in, that will help your business to grow. So I defined it in many places. Are they having customer churn? Is their customer experience is not okay? I defined a whole lot of things, and I was able to find out that malaria test is seasonal. There are seasons that people will have malaria more, most likely the rainy seasons when mosquitoes are more compared to the dry season. Me being able to define this business problem helped me to be able to arrive at the insights that I was able to give them and the recommendations I made for them to have bundle offers during those times that are having those deep. They should have bundle offers. Like, they don't just put only malaria day. They should have a bundle that when you do this, you get this for free. People will actually come because of the other things attached to that particular test. This is something that artificial intelligence cannot do. AI cannot define business problem like humans. Because you being able to define your business problem make you to stay ahead of artificial intelligence. And AI cannot now take your job. Rather, you will be able to work with AI, because the truth remains that when you master how to work with AI as a data analyst, that is when you know that you've been wasting your time. Because even when I master to automate Excel, like, I'm not talking about AI automation here, automating Excel on its own, every job becomes easy. You don't need to do everything, because once it's automated, it picks by itself. You do what you need to do here, every other thing picks. Then imagine when you learn how to use AI as a data analyst, your work becomes very easy. All you need to do is to define the business problem, and every other thing will be done in minutes for you. So if you're a data analyst who knows how to use Excel, SQL, Power BI, Python, Tableau, all you need to do is to have a mindset shift. You just need to shift to know how to define your business problem and not to panic that AI will take your job. If you measure in knowing how to define your business problems, AI can never take your job. Rather, you will be able to work with AI and make things a lot more easy for you. Data analysts now need to know how to work with AI and not panic about it taking your job. You knowing how to define the business problem and then knowing how to work with artificial intelligence will put you ahead of people who just know how to use the tools, SQL, Excel, Python, Power BI. It will put you ahead of them, and AI cannot take your job. Rather, you will be able to work with AI. See you on the next one. Bye.